Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've covered last week's comics, so now let's get started on this week's. Kicking things off, we've got Nightcrawlers, number 1, part 3 of Sins of Sinister. So, Sinister has utilized a clone of Moira McTaggart that still has an active X gene to, well, remake reality in his image. Hasn't entirely gone as well as he'd like, but but Sinister does look to have some fun with making chimeras. So, Sins of Sinister, Nightcrawlers is very much the replacement book for Legion of X. Yes. So we begin at the Sanctum Sanctorum. Vox Ignis is there and is attacked by the Legion of the Night, or, well, some members thereof. Chimera is based on combining Nightcrawler's teleportation with Toad's gifts, Wolverine, Laura Kinney's gifts, Pyro's gifts, Domino's gifts, Sabretooth's gifts, and the gifts of Mutate, Spider-Man. Though they also have an end plate with them. So, but the Legion of Night attacks Vox Ignis, but he uses the Scream of Change, and one by one manages to turn some of them, leading to the Wolverine Chimera killing the squad's end plate. He also the Scream also manages to change the minds of the Spider-Man the Spider-Man Nightcrawler and Domino, who is able to take down Sabretooth, Toad, and Pyro. But the Wolverine Chimera asks, what are they, the Legion of the Night, for? What higher purpose do they serve? Apparently, we have a write-up about how on the experimental timeline progress log, so he'd been trying to figure out what caused Nightcrawler's more recent physical changes, but to no avail. And so he left the sample of Nightcrawler's DNA just in the back of a file cabinet to deal with later. However, it popped back up, and it seemed that it could be combined with other mutants' gifts, and so Sinister began cranking out Nightcrawler chimeras. On the moon, where at the House of the Fall, formerly known as the Summer House, Mother Righteous, whom we've discovered is in fact the heart-suited Sinister, meets with the other three non-Diamond Sinisters, Orbis Stellaris and Dr. Stasis. Turns out she was able to remove the curse from Nightcrawler's genome, and a bit of a fight breaks out with Dr. Stasis sicking one of his creations, Bornin, on Vox Ignis. The three Nightcrawlers show up, deal with Bornin. But, and, well, Stasis is killed. Solaris points out that he realizes he's still alive. Mother Righteous does not even remotely consider him a threat. The two appear to form an alliance of sorts. After all, Stellaris works out of the World Farm. Alongside the progenitors. But Vox Ignis and the Nightcrawlers turn others to their side. Colossus, namely just Colossus, digging around in the remnants of the mansion. They find Dr. Nemesis, as well as the original Nightcrawler, having further devolved into a more bestial state. At Avengers Crater, formerly known as Avengers Mountain, the converted members of the Legion of the Night have come together and have, among other things, brought a few totems for Mother Righteous's ritual. The Book of the Spark, saved from a pyre on Krakoa. It makes the Wallcrawler smile when his brain hurts. A Limbo Rifle. Lucky jump into one of Shaw's armories. The Brain of Cortez, which the Senators hang everywhere to boost their powers. Vox Ignis explains they hooked one such brain up to a vocalizer. It screamed a lot. And so, through the ritual that Mother Righteous does, a weapon is shown. The Reliquary Perilous, a holy weapon, one they must build. Properly deployed, it'll purge the sinister strain from the heart of every mutant with the white-hot fire of faith. Mother Righteous points out that the group she's assembled has already been granted the gift of freedom. Seems to her that the righteous thing to do is give everyone the same. All they need is someone on the inside. In the World Farm. Though Vox Ignis points out that sounds a bit like suicide, but, well, Mother Righteous shushes him. The Wallcrawler, whom it seems is beginning to revert back to his old self, volunteers. It appears the scream is wearing off of him. And so, Wallcrawler teleports into the unknown and hits the force field, dying in the process. But Mother Righteous says they simply need faith and time. And thus Legion, these handful of members of these Legionnaires of the Night, go from being ultimate killers to holy thieves, buccaneers of light, tasked with stealing the instruments of the gods. Appears to be the Siege Perilous, the Eye of Agamotto, Mjolnir. Perhaps that's the Annihilation Mask. And a few others I assume a Darkhold. And a few other items I am not entirely sure of. And that is where the issue ends. So they're definitely fun reads. Next week we've got Immoral X-Men to wrap up month 1 of Sins of Sinister. Anyways, moving on to our next book, we've got Marauders, number 11. Where we left off, the Marauders had returned to the present, save for Cassandra Nova, who was imprisoned in the past. And three of the Threshold 3 have been resurrected. We open with an interpretively annotated version of the 3 Laws of Krakoa. Make more mutants. We cannot and must not enforce a doctrine of compulsory reproduction. The 5 are resurrecting dead mutants on an industrial scale, writing the genocides of the past. With the benefit of thought and counsel, I, Kurt, believe the most intelligent application of this law is to leave them to it. Murder no man, or woman, or any other, obviously. This law is necessarily reductive to cover a broad base. Politically, it prevents us from provoking non-mutant actors. Morally, it prevents us from sinking to their level. Kurt prefers to take a broad ethical interpretation. Kill no one who lacks recourse to resurrection. And even if they do, try not to. Looking at you, Dr. Nemesis. When a killing is suspected, they must examine the intent before condemning. They must see to it that death does not lose meaning, lest life follow suit. Respect the sacred land. The sacred land is not a place. The sacred land is a polity. The sacred land is mutant kind. To diminish or harm any mutant without consent in body or mind is to disrespect the sacred land. In all matters, emotional, physical, sexual, and spiritual, as long as choice and consent are present, anything goes. And finally, the spark. Try new things. There's a post-it from Kate wanting to talk to Kurt on the page as well. Kate's trying to figure out the message, the full breadth of the message left behind in the Mysterium box. Nightcrawler shows up, and him and Kate discuss the whole thing, but Kate gets an idea. In Boston, the Church of Love is meeting the crying mutants. Though at the same time saying that the theater of pain offers true equity through savagery. However, Fang shows up, and while his claws might not be able to do much good against Brimstone Love's the voice of Brimstone Love's message at this particular gathering, a baseball bat sure as hell will. After all, mutants love baseball, which, to be fair, they actually kind of do. In the South Pacific, Kate meets with Thala to throw an idea at her. The idea basically being that maybe Threshold and Krakoa are a loop. Meanwhile, in San Marcos, there's been a power plant explosion. Or Santo Marco. Bishop is in the remains of the power plant, and it turns out that they were using a a mutant prisoner as their power source. Feedback. Apparently the explosion were his death throes. It's explained that Albert was Department H before Aurora had a plaque on the wall. Faking in death to sell them for parts would not be above Department H. And Aurora says that perhaps Threshold originating from Krakoa would explain a pre-human society of mutants. But she does wonder, how does Kate know? For Kate, it's a leap of faith. And then Kate has Bishop, Tempo, and Psylocke meet her at Hammer Bay. And then we and she's beginning to explain her whole plan. Back with Fang, he's continuing to beat the hell out of the cult of pain leader. And his people, of course, his followers, well, they don't have loyalty because that's not a tenet of the theater of pain. Loyalty exists only until it's overcome by danger to oneself. But, well, Fang wants to speak with the man in charge. And so he asks where Brimstone Love is. So, Polaris has joined the four Marauders in Hammer Bay, who's part of everything. Then we've got Whisper, who appears to have necromantic abilities. Though everyone kind of thinks she's a bit on the weird side of things. And so, but Kate sees a vision of her father thanks to Whisper's abilities, and tells that he said to make him proud. So let's see how Kate's doing with that. Catching up with Fang, it turns out that Brimstone Love is living in Hightown in Madripoor, and Fang shows up, along with Somnus. Oh, no, not Somnus. Mr. D. We haven't seen since, I don't think since Decimation 198. He can make copies of people with his yeah, it's weird. So we also get a Kate's notes on basically turning Genosha into Threshold, basically death to life, enough graveyards. Civilization as a circuit. So, it's Wicked. Weird spectral goo lady. Necroplasm's one hell of a medium, and if you want to talk to Genosha's ghost, who else are you going to call? Thala. Gravitational tempering and hypercompression. Someone's got to fit all that gene goo into their time capsule. They've got other gravity people, but it feels right to offer it to Thala. Cerebra. Biometric telepath's pretty unique. If she can put DNA into a Krakoan egg, she can put it into necroplasm. Kate hopes. She does keep going on about how Cable's saying they need her. It's also noted that Cerebra's not yet present at... Cerebra was asked to meet everyone on on Genosha, but wasn't there, which is leading the rest of the team to head to San Francisco, because that was where she last logged go. That's the last gate she was logged going through. Polaris, electromagnetism, plus without Eric, who better to master metal? Kate needs a Mysterium box, and Polaris needs caffeine. Easy sell. Tempo, time tempering delivery of the payload. She's gonna love the plane even more than the last few. It'll be great. Fang, now some healing. All they'll have is a box of dead mashed goo in the past. Getting Fang in the slurry should kickstart the new growth. Again, Kate hopes. And finally, Kate. Who else is going to walk on water and spill this cup? And that is where the issue ends. Okay, I'm glad we're picking back up with Brimstone Love. And that's definitely a very interesting concept with the broader story. I'm very keen to see how it plays out. Moving on, though, to our next book, we've got Wolverine number 30. Where we left off, Beast killed Wolverine and has been resurrecting him as his more feral state and using him as a weapon. However, this has led to some issues, namely that Wolverine went in but took out a high-ranking member of the U.S. government before Beast could turn off the guy's surveillance network. Meanwhile, Jeff Bannister's daughter showed up on Krakoa, stating that the Blue Man is going to hurt her. Says he's going to hurt her father. Wolverine has had consigned himself to the pit, fought his way back out, and is trying to re-attack. Basically, is becoming the person he was before Beast put him through hell this most recent time. So to say that Logan is displeased with Beast is putting it incredibly lightly. But Sage and Wolverine are going to mean to speak with Bannister's daughter, who's currently being looked after by Black Tom in one of the no-place biomes, and he's making for fun manifestations of his powers to keep her entertained, namely making little Black Toms and that are somewhat sentient. But a small hornet sings the Maddie, and but Mini Black Tom takes down the hornet and makes sure to keep it. It seems that she's been poisoned, most likely by something Beast created. Cecilia Reyes is going to keep her safe in her force fields, and while doing what they can to heal her in the healing gardens. While Sage and Wolverine do some digging. They find the gate at Bannister's old house, which is apparently for sale. Wolverine's worried that, well, maybe Bannister's plan. Looking for where Bannister may be. There are 5 possible addresses where he actually is. They find a place with an immaculate lawn, beer in the trash can, and a surveillance system. Shortly after getting in, however, the place blows up. In Baltimore, Logan and Sage start asking around at a shadow office of the CIA, and they get some information. Bannister turns out has been transferred to the X desk, though Dolores Ramirez has asked that he be a bit more that he do things the way she wants them done, that includes how he dresses. But Wolverine shows up in his car, takes a few rounds, but Bannister explains that he's working the X desk at Beast's insistence. But before he can fully spill the beans on what's going on, Beast shoots Bannister through the heart. Logan goes after Beast and says, "Hey, you always got something to say, so say it." Quote a philosopher: spit out your intellectual argument, justify away." Beast states he had nothing to say, and so Wolverine does, as he stabs Beast through the head and through the gut. At the point, in a room known only to Beast, a clone of Beast is activated, auto backup, and Beast is resurrected. Stating that everything is about to change, and that is where the issue ends. Oh boy. Yeah, this is definitely getting. Beast is definitely becoming one of the worst villains of the Krakoan age. To be fair, I kind of hope that after all is said and done, he stays a villain. He makes a good villain, in all honesty. So, yeah. Moving on, though, to our next book, we've got X-Treme X-Men number 3. Where we left off, Kitty had realized that Rachel was most likely Ogun's prime target. However, Beast and Sage were attacked by Beastie Brute, an agent of the superpowered anti-mutants known as Galera. All while the anti-mutant group Purity is basically applying pressure to Chicago's mutants. But turns out that they have a plan that involves a young girl named Alice and a Sentinel. But it turns out that a mini Sentinel, yes, scrap. Turns out that BC Brute's orders were to capture Sage, not throw her out a window. The window that her and Bishop were thrown out of being right across from Bells of Hell, where Purity protest is ongoing. The protesters aren't happy. Chicago PD is responding, but well, the protesters don't like the fact that the cops are trying to keep them away from injured mutants. However, the on-scene officer's partner is a mutant with force field abilities. Storm does what she can to try and disperse the crowd. Cool mist, calm things down. Rains. Rachel and Kitty go into Rachel's mind. However, Ogun follows and imprisons Kitty while Rachel tries to fight off Ogun. During the whole thing, though, Beastie Brute pops up and clocks Rachel. So Wolverine duke it out a bit, and Ogun takes control of Beastie Brute for the moment before Gambit takes him down, for at least momentarily. Before him and Logan have a rematch. And again, Gambit provides an assist. But the leader of Gaia tries to steal or absorb Rachel's power, but, well, the Phoenix Force is a bit much, so... Meanwhile, Scrap, the mini Sentinel, goes online with with some new directives, basically turning off mutations throughout the city, including the police officer draining the force field, Storm losing her control of the weather, and Kitty having fallen and gotten stuck and had phased through the ground and trying to make her way out, losing the ability to phase with her arms sticking out of a rock. And that is where the issue ends. I think I've mentioned this every month this book's been out. I didn't read the old X-Treme X-Men title, so there's a lot of stuff that gets mentioned in this series I have no idea about. Obviously, we know that things work out just fine, but yeah, it's an entertaining read. It's nice. It's nice to occasionally read a Claremont X-Men story. After all, moving on though to our next book, we've got Star Wars number 31. Where we left off, our heroes were trapped in no space and had been picked up by members of the Kezerat colony, formerly known as the Kezerat Convoy. So, the leader has also confiscated our heroes' weapons. So, a few pointers are made. Everyone works. You don't expect to go anywhere because everyone tries to escape, but there's nowhere to go. They get a tour of the colony, and the boy that saved them initially insists that they tell, basically, a few things. Tell Luke something in particular. So we get the history of the convoy. When they first entered in no space, they were constantly dealing with a group called the Nihil. They found their base, which is where our heroes popped into no space. On the remains of the Nihil base, the Killdroids started smashing up Holdo's ship. But there was a point where initially the convoy had it. Eventually, the convoy came upon a Jedi by the name of Alarian Z. She joined the convoy, helped them fight off the Nihil, and the convoy wouldn't have survived without her. In time, she died, like most people do. But after she did, a sort of belief rose up that someday a Jedi would return and take them out of no space and take them home. And Luke says, that he'll do what he can to help. But Jedi can't do any. Jedi can't do everything. Though, Kid does think that Jedi can. Luke just says he'll do his best and see how it goes. But they're all going to be separated and interviewed. Kind of see what they, what skills they possess, and then and basically put into, their given work schedules and whatnot. The Killjoys are smashing up Holdo's ship, and Luke's worried about the sacred Jedi text that he had on there. Lobot and Chewie are cellmates, roommates, I guess. It looks more like a cell, but they're not prisoners, as are Holdo and Lando. Holdo and Lando chat, as do Luke and Leia, with Luke explaining he's worried about losing the book. Holdo and Lando's chat leads to the two of them finding a way to enjoy the fact that they're rooming together. Chewie, meanwhile, is thinking about the images he saw, and he has an idea. Seems to relate to the Nile Drive aboard Holdo's ship, and that is where the issue ends. I'm digging the Lost in No Space arc. I mean, yeah, we know obviously that Luke, Leia, Lando, and so forth will get out. After all, they're in stories set after this, so. Moving on, though, to our last book for the moment, we've got Star Wars Bounty Hunters, number 31. Where we left off, Valance had betrayed Vader and seemingly teamed up with Tonga and Losh's crew to take on Vader, using a rock to distract Vader so he can get close enough to try and fight him head on. Briefly disarming him so that it's a slightly fairer fight. But Vader orders a TIE bomber wing to destroy the village that the Tonga and Losh's crew were there to help. Which included Valance's team. Vader then orders Lieutenant Hayden who's developed feelings for Valance, which are mutual. But Vader orders her to kill Valance. She shoots him, knocks him off of a cliff. He survives. On Corellia, the Unbroken clan members are getting a plot in secret against Vakora, as they've learned that Cadelia is alive and being groomed to take her rightful place as heir of the Unbroken clan. We had a bit of a painful flashback to Vakora's past. And back on Bestine, Tonga and Losh's crew find Valance not exactly happy with how things have ended up. On the Edgehawk, Bosk wants to get revenge on Valance for almost killing him, but well, he's talked down because, hey, Valance has had a really, really rough day. On the Star Destroyer of the Righteous Fist, Lieutenant Hayden is thinking back on her recent actions, and has been brought in, and has brought in some specific Imperials to deal with the balance problem. Inferno Squad. Explaining, ordering them to track down the target, if not already destroyed, wipe Balance of memory wetware completely. After all, Balance may have seen some, witnessed something he shouldn't have, and if he did, his process would have recorded it. It's classified information to be problematic in the hands of the rebellion. An Inferno Squad is on the job. And that is where the issue ends. And that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.